Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Hello and welcome to Strategic Frontlines, a Clause YouTube channel. Today I am going to do a solo, essentially on a very important subject of warfare, which is gaining a lot of prominence in current modern times. Of course, its value was understood well before 20, 30 years, but it was not on the scale at which it is now being waged by various countries, whether it is Russia, Ukraine, whether it is Israel, Hamas, whether it is in Syria, or whether it is in Iran Israel war, or even also in Op Sindoor. You would have realized that in the past also, like Balakot and the altercations which had taken place in the past, whether it was with the Chinese in Galwan or Dokulam, every time this kind of a warfare, which is non-kinetic in nature, attacks the mind, and it attacks the mind not only of the soldier, it attacks the mind of the leadership of the military, it attacks the mind of the common citizenry, it attacks the mind of political hierarchies on either side. And this kind of a battle has now become only more intense because of the advent of technology, which is giving way to steps like fake videos. It's very difficult to counter those fake videos. They are taken out in such large numbers. There are people who are creating organizations now to launch such attacks. So, what I thought was that the primary aim of this kind of a warfare is to attack the mind. So, what I'll do is I'll go through a presentation essentially taking Op Sindoor as the example of this particular kind of a warfare, and show to you all exactly how we are being faced with this kind of a menace, and what we need to do in future to ensure that we are well prepared for such a warfare. So, coming straight to the topic, and I expect all of you to kindly join in large numbers, throw your questions. It's kind of an open house also, and that is why I am coming on this particular show today alone. And you can ask me anything from warfare to diplomacy to any kind of a question which you have related to national security, defense preparedness, and so on and so forth. So, attacking the mind, mastering the black magic, new age geopolitical tool of warfare. Why I say that it's the black magic. I derive this particular term from Kautilya, who in his Arthashastra, while he's covering the two chapters on warfare, talks of influencing the other side, that means your adversary, through black magic. What is black magic? Basically exploiting the natural phenomena in those times to convey certain kind of messaging that the wrath of the god has fallen on this particular country unless it joins hands with the country which is trying to target them. It will, or the nation which is trying to target them. This particular country, in those days it was called as mandala. So that mandala will not see a better life, or people of that mandala will not see better life. So it was like kala jadoo जिसको बोलते हैं, उस तरह की चीज was being actually taken as a part of warfare. And what we are now seeing is also something similar. How is the mind being attacked is the next issue which I would like to talk about. Look, in Operation Sindoor, we saw the peak of information war, and it was one side trying to wage an information war, and the other side trying to counter that by checking the facts, and then coming out with fake those particular videos or those particular posters as fake, or that. So you find one of the headings: India torches Chinese propaganda, pro Pakistan lies on Op Sindoor. So This time, let me share with you all that India actually did quite well, contrary to the belief that we were subjected to some kind of a warfare wherein the Pakistanis or our adversary on the west came on top of us. I am afraid that's not the full fact. Yes, internationally uh, we did suffer certain amount of setback, which we later on corrected through multi-party delegations. I'm not going to talk about those issues, but what I'm going to talk about is that why did we why did we actually lag behind as far as international narrative war is concerned, international information warfare is concerned, subsequently in this particular podcast. So coming forward, how do you attack the mind? Now there was this chief of general staff of Russia, Gerasimov, who much before the Russia Ukraine war started, after the Arab Spring revolutions which took place in the Arab and the African world, uh, he said that the future wars are going to be actually, and that's very, very surprising, 40% of it will be non contact information warfare. And I think it's coming out absolutely true. For example, I'll give you a simple example of Russia Ukraine war. There was there was a video which went viral wherein there was a Russian tank T-90 shown as going in a street and trampling a lot of civilians. Now, anybody who sees it would he would construe it as some kind of a human rights violation, that the Russians are actually trying to target the civilian, trampling over them. The actual video was different. The video was basically the tank brakes had failed, so the tank was out of control, and the people, I mean the Russian crew, was trying to somehow stop that particular tank. But the narrative, the way it was built on half truth, there was a truth factor that yes, the tank was rolling, but the other part was that it was being done deliberately, is the lie. So therefore, half truth, half lies were combined together, and next day it was sent out on the social media. People were against the Russians. So this kind of a warfare is what we are seeing more and more. So much so in Iran Israel war as well, and also in the Israel Hamas war. I will cover about the ops Sindoor slightly later. Information operations. Now, how does information operations actually get based? See, any information war cannot be based on total lies. One thing you must always consider in mind: it has to have certain element of truth or certain element of faith or belief of the targeted population, which will consider that particular kind of an information as true. It could be either the source which is telling that particular information is considered to be very, very reliable. It could be that there has been certain amount of action which has taken place in actual, which is now being linked to some lies and then brought to you as a propaganda. So propaganda becomes the primary tool of such kind of warfare. Then how do you do it? More often than not, and especially the our northern adversary, the Chinese, have been indulging in buying the intellect. Now, what is buying the intellect? In 2018, in US, they almost spent $6 billion to ensure that the international media of the United States of America had people who were pro-China, anti-India, anti-US. So they would actually take out articles because they were considered as authorities, because they were considered as very, very reputed journalists, but they were churning out indirectly through a slant articles which were against either India or against a particular targeted country which the Chinese wanted to do it. So this is the second method: buying the intellect. And buying intellect, they have done in India as well during Op Sindoor. I will show you some slides where actually you can make out that there is a narrative which is going on. Bio attacks. What is bio attack? You will be surprised that there are researches going on to actually, in China, especially in China, I don't know whether in the Western world also this kind of a thing is going on, but for the Chinese, I'm quite sure, based on intelligence which comes out, is that they are creating, let's say, a mosquito, which if it bites, it actually affects your mind. So your mind doesn't behave in a normal routine manner. Imagine if these kind of mosquitoes are released in the environment, even without anyone suspecting that there is an attack going on you, you will start behaving abnormally, especially if it is being put out in the front lines where soldiers are actually face to face with each other. The only drawback of such attacks is that, you know, you can't control the mosquito's direction, so it can go anywhere. So normally what they are going to try to do such things is in the deeper areas where their own forces are not going to be there. So this is another method on which people are working to actually carry out such attacks. Then there are now also researches going on how to influence your mind through electronic impulses. So whole lot of dirty trick departments of various countries are taking are doing such exercises to ensure that the human efficiency reduces. And finally, cyber attacks. I think enough has been said about cyber attacks, so I will not dwell too much about it. Cyber attacks can very seriously affect the mind in terms of the effect which it may have. For example, uh, there were reports that the air traffic control can be cyber attacked. Imagine if a air traffic control can be disturbed through cyber attacks, it may lead to major accidents. It may lead to commotion, chaos, cancellation of flights. So many things can happen. Uh, I'll quote you some examples of cyber attacks. Suppose your Bombay Stock Exchange is attacked successfully, so many people of this country will start losing their money. They will be frustrated, their morale will go down. So you will find that this kind of an attack is even more dangerous. And that is why, just for information of all of you, that Bombay Stock Exchange has one of the most formidable, and when I say formidable, I mean really formidable. It's much more stronger than the any kind of a firewall which you can see. There are hundreds and hundreds of manpower which is working to prevent any kind of cyber attack taking place on BSC. BSC, NSE, they are attacked almost every second with thousands of people trying to disrupt the functioning of the Bombay Stock Exchange. So similar kind of arrangements have to be made so that, you know, air traffic, railway traffic, power grids, ports, so many things can be disrupted that the entire country may start feeling defeated even before we've actually joined the war. So cyber attacks are one another area which I think we need to be very very careful, and I am sure that the government of India is doing seriously something on this particular issue. In fact, there is a mandate which has been given that every big concern, whether it is private or public, has to ensure cyber proofing of its organization. Otherwise, you're likely to be cyber attacked, your operation will be disrupted. So, from there, I wish to share as to how the citizenry is now impacting the information warfare. Look at the Pakistani crowd in the United States of America. They were actually joining hands with the so-called DGISPR and trying to create a narrative of anti-India narrative of anti-Hindu narrative, anti-Indian narrative. Indian, for example, this is the feedback which I got from one of my podcasts in the past, where in fact it was possibly received by Jan Shankar, where he's talking about Pakistan is capturing minds for the next 20 years. Instagram, Reels, and other social media are not that famous in the US. So we have to use the tools effectively where they are being used. I mean, we can keep on doing our narrative war on the Twitter, but if the Twitter is not very popular, oh, sorry, Instagram, if the Instagram is not very popular in the United States of America, it will have no meaning. It will have no impact. And here are just few examples of themes which these people were doing. And let me tell you, they were just being picked up by normal Pakistani citizens. India is an aggressor in South Asia. By what measure of imagination was India aggressor as far as Op Sindoor was concerned? But then that's the narrative they spread. And people were just picking up from one thread to the other thread. Why Indians don't shower? It has no link to Op Sindoor, but it is just to demean or to deride the Indians. India is a dirty, unsafe country. These were the themes which were being played out. We can choose to ignore them, but imagine what is the mindset of a US policy maker when he goes through all these kind of things. He will definitely get tilted towards become anti if he's not a very discerning person, and you can't expect everyone to be very discerning. Hindus are weak and uncivilized, dirty Hindus, etc., etc. India can't fight this narrative war from Indian soil alone. I mean, this is he's a common citizen is saying that of Indian origin. We need to target the audience sensitive. Revisiting the TikTok ban, I think we need to actually keep on revising our policy of narrative warfare. If we find that we need to deploy TikTok, then deploy it. Our people are capable of countering. The only thing that people are not being pushed to the level that where they can join in and become part of the overall narrative of pro India. Pakistan and possibly the West use TikTok to grab the attention of young kids in Bangladesh. I mean, this is very clear. If any one of you have seen programs on Al Jazeera of the students leader who were there involved in Bangladesh, they were controlling everything from the US, UK, Australia, such like places. They were not even there in Bangladesh, and they were moving and mobilizing people in Bangladesh, students in Bangladesh. Leave the narrative building to young Indians. I feel that we people like us who are now into our how should I say? I don't want to say that particular word in our golden era of our life have got a mindset which is now ossified, which is now frozen. We need to get the youngsters on board. We need to get them up thinking, and that has been one of my aims, in the clause. I've been trying to instill this kind of a feeling in our young scholars to come out with out of the box solutions. And believe you me, we are trying to put these out of box solutions into the framework of policy making. Hope it will have some kind of a change in the long run. I can't promise anything in the short run, but this is what I am trying to do, because I feel that my mind has got so set based on our past experience, based on our probably one way we are lucky that uh, we have seen changes which no other generation has seen. From a mud house, one has now gone up to space. As far as India is concerned, it's been phenomenal change, I think. But now it is time for the Zen. I believe Zen Alpha is the new trend. They are the ones who have to take this country forward, and unless we become like Romans in the land of Romans, we will not be able to fight. And that is the one of the most important messages which I want to give, that information war is now a war not only of the government, not only of the military, not only of the influencers. It is the war of everyone, every citizen of India. Can we not develop links with international media houses? I think this is where we are slightly lacking, and that is why you found that in Op Sindoor, our international reach out was slightly lagging. I personally feel there we should have done much more than what we did. We should have taken out regular briefings for our embassies so that they were coming out, so that they could come out with regular updates, so the people of that particular country are suitably advised. Although, let me tell you, after a while, we did catch up, but that was, I think, slightly late. Indian media resources, it's not that we don't have the resources. You'll be surprised, as of today, as I'm talking, these are figures of today. We have over 900 TV channels blaring away same thing, same internal issues. Why can't we cover issues which are of national security interest? Over 550 FM radio stations. We can do wonders with these. 1,18,239 print publications. Imagine, humongous. We need to just flood the internet with our resources, with our stories. Let us see how it impacts. Let me tell you, if you continue to flood a resource, ultimately your resource will keep popping up in the search. Howsoever hard you may try to negated. Rapidly growing digital ecosystem with 806 million internet users today in India, 491 million social media users. But yet we were not able to combat the social media war which took place during Op Sindoor. We expect the OTT platform to reach $43 billion by financial year 28. Imagine we are struggling to go to $44 billion by 2033 as far as our space technology is concerned. And here is one sector where we are growing like a wildfire. However, this wildfire is uncontrolled and it is not directed towards the goals which we want to set as far as national security is concerned. However, challenges like ownership, concentration, press freedom, concerns, and regulatory pressures, these are the issues which are actually hampering our media. They are being owned by big houses, so they have their own personal agendas to put forward. So you'll find ultimately that we are not coming out with a holistic policy on media and in narrative warfare. The government is doing a lot, but government alone cannot do anything. It is a whole of a nation approach. There has to be a centralized policy on national security issues as far as media is concerned. Data crunching, this has been one of our biggest weaknesses. There is so much of data. If you know what the Chinese are doing, they are assimilating all your 900 TV channels, 550 FM stations, 1 lakh odd print publications, social media messages through artificial intelligence, churning them together, coming out with the national mood trend of India, and then throwing out counter messages into the environment which counter the trend which India is trying to propagate, or the trend which the Indian public is actually interested in. So therefore, they are continuously carrying out this mind battle, even while I am speaking about it. You will find in our channel itself there are so many cyber attacks, of not, I wouldn't say cyber attacks, but so many people from China and Pakistan who enter and try to disrupt our conversation. So be it, let them come. I have some direct messages coming to me, and I know from where they are coming, but we need to know their mindset so that we can counter them accordingly. Look at the Park campaign, official and intelligence backed campaign. It had that ISPR footprint on every message which came in the environment, public environment. ISI and Pakistan Armed Forces are believed to have deployed networks of bots and troll accounts. Skype estimates suggest up to 18,000 plus accounts. Imagine 18,000 plus bot accounts aimed at amplifying pro Pakistan narrative. In fact, there were some narratives coming out from China that moment the video was shot, or a particular podcast was shot, the views were just about 800, 900, that's thereabouts. By the morning when you get up, suddenly it is gone in millions. 83 million, 50 million, 29 million. How has it happened? Obviously you can't have so many chefs within the night looking at this particular thing. It is all being driven by technology. Moment they get amplified, then there will be always that natural tendency for people to look at it, and then the opinions are formed, the leadership gets affected, some people start reacting to it, we get into hyperbole, trying to fight unnecessary campaign which is not required as far as our operations are concerned. We need to foolproof ourselves, and so therefore the only answer lies in being like them. Just carry out narratives which are, if you ban it, it will not help you, because nothing can be banned in today's world. VPN, through VPN they will come out. There was a channel, very popular channel in Pakistan, which was banned by us. It opened another YouTube channel with a different name, and it started propagating again. So how many channels are you going to ban? So unless you point blank blanket sanction on the internet, which will be harmful to you also. So therefore, I think, for example, a Lahore travel agency operator, Nashuba Masood, is reported to have recruited Indians visiting Pakistan to create pro-Pak content for social media, often facilitated by ISI connected Pakistani High Commission staff in Delhi. These are things which we need to be careful about. And it was good that the government looked into it, and it started sending out illegal people who are illegal Pakistanis who are staying there. But not everything can be, stopped. Not everybody can be pushed out. There is a limit to checking these people. Disinformation pushed by public and diaspora. I have spoken enough about it. Deep fakes, doctored videos, false claims, everything was abounding. US based influencer Jackson Hinkle with 3 million followers, that means 30 lakhs, linked to Pakistani intel and foreign actors, propagated conspiracy narrative alleging Indian false flag actions in Kashmir. So therefore, why not? I mean, if they are trying to say that they are giving moral support to Kashmir, and that it's not terrorism, it is their legitimate fight, etc. So nothing stops our influencers, our so-called media personalities from talking that okay, Baluchis have a right to their cause, they have a right to freedom. We will give them as much moral support as possible. We will give them political support as far as possible. So therefore, I think we need to create counter pressure than Pakistan. High moral ground is good till it works. Once it stops working, India now has the heft, India now has that strength, whether it is military strength, whether it is economic strength, to say spade is spade, and what is bad, that is bad, and if need be, propagate its own views across the world. After all, we refused the US as far as the lunch invite was concerned. We can do many more such things. Till the time our in national interests are not served, we are not going to get hyphenated by Pakistan. We have not relented on IWT. Let's see what happens, but we should be prepared for the outcome. And this is where I will cover certain amount of weaknesses of ours which we need to quickly look into. Then there were issues like uh, Indian responses. People said that, oh, Indian response is not good. Let me tell you, this time the PIB really worked hard. Times of India, Economic Time, deepfake usages, ISI backed recruitment operations were all exposed within I will tell you, within hours they were actually exposed as fake news, right? FIRs were filed in India against individuals accused of propagating inflammatory anti-India content via social media. So such kind of actions were taken by the PIB, by the government agencies, by the newspapers, by the media houses, and I think we must praise them for that. Where we went wrong, we have to accept as a learning lesson and go ahead in the next time not to repeat those kind of things. Scale and implication, this is very important. Look, the information battlefield during this conflict involved coordinated bot fake account usage, deep fakes, diaspora based amplification across Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, often blending public sentiment with intelligence tactics. It is here that this kind of a coordination we need to also have when we have to take out our narrative. I've quoted the authorities also where you can get all these information which I have put to you: reddit.com, theguardian.com, etc., Wikipedia. Pakistani campaign targeted both domestic and the Indian audiences and Western opinion via diaspora, utilizing travel, visas, visa recruits, and influences. Next time round, I think we need to have a totally different department in sync with the kinetic actions to take on this particular type of a warfare. And earlier we change our structures, policies, procedures, the better it would be for us to fight this kind of warfare in the future. The disinformation efforts contributed to inflamed public mood, increased polarization, rising tensions between nations, underscoring how modern hybrid warfare increasingly relies on online narratives. It's not only about between nations, within the country, within India itself, there was a grave danger of a divide. Luckily for us, this time round, the Indian public at least stood together and did not get divided on religious lines. I had one of the comments which came to me, and it appeared to be a direct comment which came to me addressing as General Saab, that. And the language clearly indicated that probably it was coming from the ISI handlers, saying that be prepared for a religious war. You have stopped our IWT, be prepared for a religious war. And the language was polished, absolutely military like. So it was the clear hand of an ISI, ISPR combined, which was trying to convey this kind of a message. So I think now we need to be prepared internally as well. Our internal narratives have to quickly come into action. Our external narratives have to quickly come into action. Our counter narratives have to also be, for that we require structures. And structure is one area where we are currently lacking. So I think there is a need for us to have a counter information or information warfare uh, department at the strategic level, at the national level, flowing from which the all the policies must take place. And this is a major government decision. I think we need to go forward on this particular line. Uh, Coming down to some evidence summary, ISI Pak military 18,000 bots I have already spoken about. I'm just reducing it. Nausaba Masood, recruitment of pro-Pak digital influences from Indian travelers, deep fakes and doctored photos, false claims of victories and downed aircrafts circulated. US-based influences, Jackson Hinkle, I just spoke about. Indian fact check and legal actions, PIB debunks media scrutiny, FIRs for inflammatory content. This is the good part of it, but this is just a small little piece, small little, I would say, streak of lightning or streak of gold in this entire narrative warfare. We have a long way to go forward. The Pak campaign was essentially Pakistani public agency, including ISI linked actors activities. The This I have already covered, so I will not show it again. The Chinese campaign. Sorry, I would like to say a few words on the Chinese campaign. Uh, Before I cover the Chinese campaign, let me tell you the war in future or conflict in future with India, whether it is with Pakistan, whether it is with China, it is no more two front war. I fully denounce this word called two front. It will be a one front war. If the Pakistanis are doing something, the Chinese will be involved in it. If China is doing something, Pakistan will definitely get involved in it. Probably it will seek opportunities to make the best, or to make hay while the sun shines. So therefore, it is going to be a one front war. And in this one front war, the areas where the collusion is going to be the maximum, it will be in the non-kinetic areas, it will be in the covert areas, it will be in the narrative warfare areas, it will be in the areas where denial is very easy. So for example, in the Chinese campaign, their strategic objective was erode international credibility of India. Why? Obviously, India is rising. It is seen as a regional threat. So therefore, do everything possible to undermine India. So Rafael jets controversy started happening. So doubt by sabotaging narratives of victory using Pakistan aligned claims picked up across Chinese and proxy media. Whatever was happening in actually in Pakistan, the Chinese media, especially the Global Times, etc., were pumping out rapidly in the same speed, and the viewership from the Chinese media was huge. And they were targeting the Western world. They were targeting us. They were more targeting the international arena where we were this time found wanting. Influence the global audiences, like I said, especially Western and non-aligned viewers, to question India's defense narrative. So look, I think it looked like a very well planned action that China will take care of the international audience. We had to do everything ourselves, and let me tell you, nobody will come to help us. So we have to create our own solutions. We have to have these departments which are looking across our diplomatic corps has to really wake up and start getting expertise in this kind of a warfare. They will become the most important part of international information operations for furthering military operations, for furthering non-kinetic options, for furthering anything which we are trying to do against the adversary in whichever format. So, what did they do? What did the Chinese do? Disinformation campaign against the Rafales. Chinese and Pakistani actors circulated fake news, manipulated videos, a joint effort in Operation Disinformation. Global Times and Xinhua. The Indian government blocked Chinese state channels, including Global Times, Xinhua, ex Twitter inside India for spreading Pakistani aligned propaganda like assertion that Pakistan shot down Indian jets. Both Indian and the Chinese embassies accused each other of spreading unverified stories. Sorry for the spelling mistake. But what I'm trying to say is that there was war being fought all around us. We were only focusing on the military part of it. But look at the kind of warfare which was going around the military actions which were taking place. And therefore, everything cannot be left to the military. That, information warfare only being waged by the military, that has been one of the mistakes of Israel. I have done a very detailed study of all the Israeli campaigns in the past. What the government of Israel did was they gave the responsibility for information warfare also to the Israeli military, and every time the Hamas used to win the narrative war, they would get the sympathy, they would get the aid. Same thing what Pakistan has done. They got the money, they have changed the entire game by getting US on board, or making US kind of neutral, the Russians are neutral. So therefore, overall, if you see in the narrative field, the Pakistanis get that sympathy because of being a weaker power than India. So for a weaker power, one thing which you all must realize is that even a checkmate, even a draw, is a victory. It's not that they have won. It is just that they project themselves as being the victims. So if you are a victim, people have sympathy for you. So the IMF gave some reasons that these talks were going from before. So what if these talks were going from before for aid for aid as far as Pakistan was concerned? Their current action, which was absolutely horrendous, of Pahalgam attack, should have been taken into consideration. And it is good that Indian diplomacy kicked in at the right time when he was having lunch with Trump. At that particular point in time, the FATF came up with this with a with a with a statement saying that they actually they actually look at Pakistan's hand in this kind of a attack which took place on Pahalgam, and they are now going to actually have a review in August. And if the Indian diplomacy kicks in in the right time and in the right way, it will not be surprising if Pakistan is put back in the gray list. And if that happens, let me tell you, it will be a tremendous positive action as far as our information warfare is concerned. So wait and watch. I think India will do something about it, but we need to do more. Look at the spamouflage. This is a new word which has been must have heard about camouflage. Now it is spamouflage. People are couching their information through covert China's covert network known as spamouflage, through the covert actions, where there is a deniability, where there is a lack of attributability. You cannot actually pinpoint the blame on the country, but that is what the Chinese have been doing. The AI controlled accounts spreading pro Beijing narratives. While recent visibility in India specific operation is not confirmed, their presence in global influence operation is well documented, and that is something which is we need to take care of. State actors. China's doctrine includes media warfare. I mean, three warfare strategy. All of you must have heard about it. It has been talked about in the past also. Let me tell you, they are following it to the T. And why they are following it to the T is because of their old time philosopher. Like we have the Kautilya, they have this old time philosopher called Sun Tzu, who says, the art of generalship is winning the war without fighting. So technically, they are becoming past masters in gray zone warfare, in covert operations, in these kind of spamouflage or dragon bridge kind of an operation. So therefore, we need to be careful of the Chinese. They actually amplify the false claims to such a degree that people start believing in it. That people start questioning within your own country, that This time there was nothing to question as far as the target damage, etc., was concerned. So there were these narratives which were created to question. Mind you, you may do so politically, but for a military, it's a quite a demotivational factor. War fighting is not a joke, and this must be realized by people that, look, you keep your internal differences aside. You want to win an election, go win an election. Don't drag in the military into it. Don't politicize the military. Military has a particular way of functioning, irrespective of whichever government comes in. We are for India. We are for the sovereign security of India. We are not here for any particular alignment. That's your battle. You fight with the public. You fight. Go take your work to the public. Public will give you the response which you deserve, and we will do what the nation deserves, what the nation wants. We will do what the national interests are. So therefore, these Chinese social media and covert influence was quite a bit as far as this in the last few years. In the last few, I would say, in the last 1 or 2 decades, they have been very, very active. uh, Chinese social proxy channels. This is something new which came about. Community reports note sudden growth of low effort China linked YouTube channels that post repeated negatively based video content aimed at India. These often used AI generated voices under fake Western style names. You must have seen those shorts which keep coming up, right? These are all new technologies which are being exploited to do these kind of things. Reddit user highlights very recently created accounts present themselves as neutral Chinese citizens, mass producing politically volatile videos targeted towards India, always feature AI generated voices so that nobody can trace them. Nobody can trace as to who is starting this particular podcast, or who's talking in this particular reel or a video, or a short. So therefore, each and everything is being utilized which a technology can offer to change, attack the mind. And we need to foolproof our mind. And how can we foolproof our mind? By not believing in what is happening or what is coming in the social media on the various platforms blindly. Do a fact check, check from other sources. You'll find the true news. So therefore, don't react in a short term basis on these kind of things. The Chinese campaign was, essentially run by the state run outlets, covert information operations, YouTube proxy channels. This is a summary of, and this was in alignment with the three warfare doctrine of China. They actually practiced their non-kinetic doctrine. They practiced their, or they tested and validated their defense equipment, which came out a cropper, where the Indian armed forces were able to respond so effectively that the China is now a worried nation. Its political leadership is under chaos. It doesn't know. It's not very confident of retaining its position. So therefore, there is always some purge going on. The other till last count, I have written an article on this very recently in a media outlet. Till last count, there are purges taking place almost every day, and all in the military or in the political circle, CMC, etc. Why is this happening? It is when a political leader starts feeling insecure, even with his close confidence, which means that very soon we are likely to see. Why can't we build on this narrative? It is just left to few people like us to write on these issues. These messages will go across. People say that they have a foolproof Weibo system, so therefore we can't penetrate. Let me tell you, there are ways and means by which people are sending what we write, what we do across. You'll find clause being quoted in a Chinese media. So why are they targeting clause? They know that we are also a think tank which is trying to take out messaging. We are actually exposing their weaknesses through our collaborators, through our other channels like Gunner Shot, etc. They are also contributing to this kind of and we bring in the best of the subject matter experts to do this kind of a job. So with this brief uh, uh, kind of a rundown on the narrative, let me uh, cover a little bit on what we need to do. What should be our approach as far as India is concerned on the non-kinetic warfare. First of all, my first point is, in the land of Romans, be like Romans. We have to now start putting all our tools of warfare on the table. We cannot ignore any tool, whether it is overt operation, whether it is covert operation, whether it is narrative war, whether it is cyber war, whether it is a military operation. In every field, we have to respond to our adversary in their own words. And I keep saying, unless you have the brute power, nobody will listen to you. In Hindi, there is a kahavat, jiski lathi usi ki bhans. So even if you do a narrative war without the power, I don't think people will really, listen to you. So the world will respect a power that has the real hard power. Along with it comes the rest of the soft power bit. The second thing which we need to do is leverage technology to create narratives well in advance before we take any kind of a action, whether it is a non-kinetic action or a kinetic action. For example, we held in abeyance the IWT treaty. Fine, we did that. But along with that, there should have been a positive narrative running with super speed, justifying why we have done this. Not left to the government. There should have been a host of influencers, host of, I mean, they have to be part of your, they should be called as your warriors. They are no more, supposed to be civilians. They are no more supposed to be public. They are part and parcel of the war fighting, because tomorrow, if any wars take place, let me tell you, length and breadth of the country population will be affected, whether it is living in Kerala, whether it is living in West Bengal. Look at the ranges of missiles, all going to 2,500, 3,000 kilometers. And there are some news, I don't know how far it is true, I have not validated it. We are still doing some kind of a study on that. The Pakistanis are trying to develop a ICBM. If they develop an ICBM, then, well, nothing is off the table as far as India is concerned. So therefore, our citizenry has to be prepared for defending itself, for propagating with the national security overall concept, how to promote or how to become the advocates of our thinking, our line of operations, and not fall prey to a counter narrative, to fake narratives, etc. So that is the second part of it. Everybody, it's a whole of a nation approach which has to be adopted as far as narrative war is concerned. The third thing, and which is possibly the most important, is, and that is that we need to now create structures at the national level looking at this kind of a warfare. Not only cyber we do have fairly reasonable capabilities to defend ourselves, but we need for information warfare also at the national level something very very clear. It cannot be just left uh, to the existing agencies. I think they are already overworked. And the last part, for any kind of information warfare, mind you, all of you, or to my audience, nobody may have spoken about it. For any effective information warfare attacking the mind, your intelligence network has to be of the highest order in the world today. If you are having an economy which has to be preserved, if you are having a military force which has to be prepared for any kind of action proactively, then we cannot keep on hearing this on story of intelligence failure. I know the Israelis failed on the 7th of October in the Gaza war. So there will be instances where we might fail, because let me tell you, defense is always bound to fail sometimes or the other, because every day they are trying to thwart so many actions against them that ultimately a defense gets penetrated. So the only way to thwart defense not getting penetrated is to also undertake offensive actions. So whenever required, and when we feel that our sovereignty, our national security is going to be under danger, an offensive action in the non-kinetic domain must be taken, but that has to be taken only if our intelligence is of the highest order. So this being our last my last kind of a point, I will see if there are any questions and I'll try to answer. uh, Coming on to, I think this is a question by Akash. The attacks on the mind the population of targeted geographies are indeed embedded in the various verticals of the gray zone. Your views? I fully agree with you, Akash. In fact, you see, it was always there. It's not that this kind of warfare is something new. It has been there since ages. Like I told you, I gave the examples of the times of Kautilya. So it has been there. Look at Shivaji, look at Maharana. Everybody has practiced it. Akbar. Every individual has practiced propaganda as a means of warfare. But what has made the difference today is the use of technology, which has actually revolutionized the information warfare. And that is what we need to be careful about, that technology has to be used both offensively and defensively. Defensively, in a manner to secure your population with the facts, that what is the true fact, immediately spread it into the environment, and send out a counter offensive which affects the enemy as far as their minds are concerned. Uh, Cuttlefish makes mandalas on the bottom of the ocean. Look it up; it's really amazing. So, okay, thank you very much. Uh, Western Zionists lying about everything. What a shocker! I mean, thank you very much, Ixio. That's your belief, right? So these are some of the so-called infiltrators into our podcast. Good. It shows that they are getting impacted by us. We have a question by Yogesh Bhadresha. Namaskar to all viewers and listeners. Please click like button, subscribe. Thank you, Yogesh, and I also request uh, the listeners to kindly subscribe to us. Look, we are not very keen on earning anything from this. We are only keen on reaching out as far and as wide as possible. So please spread the message that what is required. National security has to be understood by each and every person in the times to come. Not only the military, not only the government planners, not only the political, not only the national leaders. It has to be an inherent embedded knowledge inside every citizen, so that in future, look at the Israelis. I was talking to since you brought up this point, I was talking to we were having a discussion with Israeli think tank and our think tank on uh, kind of changes which have taken place in the nature of warfare in Israel Hamas context. While we were having this discussion, a siren sounded, and the DG of that particular think tank had to run out and go into a bunker. Later on, she came out and said that, look, this is our normal life and we are used to it. So we have to be warriors. We have to be people who actually have to now understand national security, promote the government effort towards ensuring national sovereignty, and in whatever way we can. And if called upon by the country, we should contribute accordingly. uh, Everything is not money as far as I'm concerned. Then we have a question from Ryuku. Narrative battles from outside from other countries can be countered. Fake narratives that come from within are more dangerous. I fully agree with you. This is has been a weakness as far as our country is concerned, but I think slowly we are seeing a pleasant change in this. As you would have found in the multi-party delegation, there was a fair amount of unity in our approach toward national security. Although back home, again, everything has disappeared, and this is what people actually look at. People actually try to exploit your internal fault lines. Kautilya had said long time back, it is the internal moles who are dangerous. External wounds and external injuries are not that serious, they can be treated. Uh, then there is a question by Himanshu Singh. I guess this is first time whole PPT presentation and explanation considering mind as a central focal point. How they are doing it, and AT, and yep, they are doing it, and but ramification for these will be huge. Thank you very much, Himanshu. This is what I was trying to actually do today. I was trying to reach out through a concentrated dose of what is narrative warfare, what is information warfare, how people are actually trying to innovate technology, including biotechnology. Imagine, mosquitoes have also not been spared for running information, or affecting your mind or attacking your mind. Even electromagnetic pulses are being tried out to ensure that you do not perform to your best of capabilities. If you are in the battlefield as a soldier, and if your performance drops, that's a victory for the other guy without fighting. And suppose the mind of the leader gets impacted, you military leader, or commander who's there, then it will have a cascading effect on the command of the troops which he's commanding. Similarly, you find that there is another question. I will take this question, but I'll just flash it. Operation Blue Star was made into attacking Sikhi faith by Pakistan and Khalistani, whereas the entire fact that the Golden Temple was made into a fortress by terrorists was never told them. Look, I will tell you that in Op Sindoor also they tried this thing. Moment the Pahalgam attack had taken place, a few days later, there was a police operation done by Punjab police close to Amritsar, in which there were policemen who had gathered together. Now that photograph was picked up by I have the photograph in my presentation. I didn't show it. It was picked up by the Pakistani handlers and projected as some kind of an internal mutiny in the Indian Armed Forces, Indian Army. Whereas the headline said the Sikh troops have refused to obey orders of the Indian Army. Absolute nonsense. But this half truth of a police operation, which was a criminal operation against some criminal trying to nab him, was converted into a narrative war. That is something which we need to be careful. This time we checked it within I think hours. We were able to deny this particular debunk this narrative. This is something good which has happened. We need to learn from this. But it was, let me tell you, we need to make it into a formal structure so that people are at it right from the beginning. uh, we have Jack in and out of the box. In case of future conflict, we should have high level of armed forces personnel conducting press conference, that too early and at early intervals instead of MEA. Your views? Absolutely true, Jack in out of the box. Not only internally, we need to have press briefings. Not why only press briefing? You've seen the White House does briefing every day, even if there is no war. War times, of course, it's a totally different. You saw in the Desert Storm, there was a regular briefing being done by the military personnel, whether it was in the morning. And if there is an important development which has taken place, come out immediately, clarify it, tell your own media. At least your own media will start talking in the correct line. Otherwise, everybody conjures up things. Some veterans are called, they will also imagine based on their experience of the time when they had fought. Like I am now 5 years, 6 years down the line after retirement. I have my own perceptions, right? So I will try to fix my templates onto the current situation, which is absolutely incorrect. Therefore, I think briefings are required, and briefings are required for every embassy. Bulletins have to go out to all our embassies for international narrative. That has been the biggest learning point as far as I am concerned in this particular operation. Then we have a number of questions, but I think I'm absolutely running out of time. uh, there is there is one question which I will take. Geet Mohan, sir, but this main issue is the opposition also tries to give narrative against the country instead of building security narrative for national integration and security. Look, this is a political issue. While I tend to agree with what you are trying to say, and that is exactly the point, that we need to build a consensus, not to drag military issues into politics. For heaven's sake, don't drag it. Victory of India is victory of every citizen of India. Loss of India is loss of every citizen of India. But in battle, whether it was the 47-48 battle, whether it was 62 battle, whether it was 65 battle, 71 battle, Kargil war, ongoing insurgencies, ongoing terrorism in J&K, all these battles which we are fighting, you see there are losses on either side. Do you want to make them politicized? I think we are doing the biggest disservice to this nation, and I don't mince my words on this issue. So therefore, I fully agree to your point, Geet. And last, I will take the last question. Its time is 8 o'clock. Yeah. So what I'll do is, this is again Geet. So let me just take it up. Anything related to India comes, then their bot starts putting messages, and we common man start trying to respond to as a response and ends as a failure. Look, why I'm saying that there is truth in your point is that, a, you can read my book, which is on gray zone warfare, in which I have quoted this particular method of operation of the people from within only. These are, I mean, most of the guys are Indians who have been hired by our adversaries. 20 people, just 20 people sitting in US and the other countries of the world, created the Dalit Revolution of April 2018, on 3rd April 2018. It started like a wildfire and it ended like a fired case. Within few hours, it died down, because when the public came on the streets, they realized who's the leader. There's no leader. So next time round, I think they have become much more careful. They first identify leaders, have the leaders ready to mobilize the people who start coming onto these kind of protests. If you ask many of these protesters, don't even know why they have come out. So these are the dangers of information warfare. We have to be prepared for them. We have to live with them, and we need to. Okay, this is the last question I will take, and then our Indonesian DA has recently made a fool of himself. How do we stop all this nonsense? Your views. Look, I think, Jack in out of the box, you have been slightly harsh on the naval DA. Sorry, the Indonesian DA. Using words like fool, etc., is incorrect. Technically speaking, yes, he has ventured into areas which are not his expertise at all. If he didn't know about it, there's a very simple method of saying that I will check and let you know, or what is already there in the public domain, he can repeat that. I don't think, probably he would not be even aware of exactly what has happened. And when you give this kind of a statement based on hearsay, based on some of your friends talking in a loose term, I think is incorrect. That is one thing we need to learn. We need to learn how to come onto the media. So if you want to say something, you can just say that, look, it's not my, I mean, I am not privy to this information, right? So therefore, I can't comment on it. Yes, I can just say that the CDS have said something few weeks back or few days back. You take that if you are so keen on trying to take a comment out of me. I think so. Therefore, there was a little bit of I would say, granted to the maturity level, granted to that, and let's kill this issue. This debate must not be taken forward. Who created this debate? Let me tell you. I mean, I'm now, since you brought this point, who created this debate? This thing took place way back on 10th of June. Oh, yeah, I think 10th of June. I'm not very sure. I think 10th of June, and it has been dug after 10, 12 days. Why? Because you want to politicize something. If you have questions here, go into the parliament. There's a parliamentary committee. Ask the question there, and get your curiosity resolved. There'll be a report which will be coming out. After all, a group of ministers report came out in Kargil. There was a ruling party government which had commissioned that particular study. And what happened? They a lot of faults were accepted, but the reforms which they suggested are still a begging. It's the fault of, I mean, who came into power after that? Why didn't you do those reforms? So I think we should. That's why I say that, the, our political leadership needs to understand national security is above politics. That's it. Thank you very much to all our listeners. You have been a wonderful audience. I only request to each one of you, please like, subscribe, and share it as much as possible. That's the only requirement which clause has as far as our videos are concerned. Today I came solo, essentially to interact freely with you all, and next time round I will do so with a panel of people, only answering your questions with some good experts along with me, and try to satisfy your curiosity on national security issues, especially related to defense, preparedness, warfare, etc. Thank you, and Jai Hind.